This is very, okay, good for her.
Yeah.
We landed on a space rock. Like,
Hello.
hello. You know, most kids have like the dinosaur phase and then they have the space phase, and mine was dinosaurs, asteroid, space, right? Like, that was the line.
And shout out again, Vera Wang.
Vera Rubin.
Why did I say Vera Wang? That's a designer.
Also a very famous Vera. Yeah.
Space exploration.
Yes.
Can you give me kind of, what is it? Why do we do it? Welcome to Season 1 of No Credit, the video podcast that highlights the voices and stories of women and gender diverse innovators in STEM across various backgrounds and eras to ensure that their contributions never get left out of history books. Hi, I'm Zeynep Güler-Tak, Z for short, coming to you from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. Head to native-land.ca. It's a really cool site. There you can check in on the territories, the languages, and the treaties on this land. I am excited, extremely excited today, because we are here on episode 1, ground zero of the No Credit season 1. I am almost speechless, but I promise I will continue chatting with you about how much this means to me. A little bit about my background, where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the world of media and communications. These two industries over the years were absolutely transformed by technology, and I was thrust into the tech environment and really became a woman in tech. I met a lot of like-minded, incredible women in the STEM fields, the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, as well as the adjacent creative fields, and we all kind of felt a little out of place. So I knew as a communicator and a media professional that there was something I could do. And I wanted to be able to amplify their voices, their stories, their contributions that were getting lost in the noise of the internet, and for centuries had been getting lost and not even making it to history books or Nobel Prize nominations. And then voila, No Credit was born, this video podcast that highlights the contributions, the incredible work that is moving us forward. And so we get to speak to some of these amazing women and gender diverse folks about some of the work that they get to do. And so each episode, just to give you a sense of kind of how we're going to roll, each episode we're going to highlight one of history's women in gender diverse folks in STEM, and parallel their stories with someone who is innovating here in the city of Vancouver. And this is a season 1 focus, really a local focus on some of the storytellers and STEM professionals here in the city. So I'm excited about that professionally and personally. And then at the end of each episode, we're going to check in with you to see if history's pioneering women and gender diverse folks in STEM's contributions were impactful or all in vain. So I'll check in with you at the end of each episode, and you'll be the judge. You'll likely know NASA's Katherine Johnson from the Hollywood biopic Hidden Figures. I'm obsessed with the book and movie. It's on a lot at our house. She was one of NASA's top stars, a brilliant mathematician and a trailblazing Black woman in STEM. Despite facing racial and gender discrimination, her groundbreaking work almost slipped through the cracks. Her trajectory analysis for America's first spaceflight and Apollo 11's moon landing paved the way for historic discoveries and the future of space exploration. All right, so lifting off from Katherine Johnson's legacy, pun totally intended on the liftoff. I'm going to do that a couple times. I can't help myself. We're moving over to one of our current day heroes in space exploration and science communications here in Vancouver. We are lucky to be speaking with an astronomer, science communicator, and student who is leading the legacy of people like Katherine Johnson and sharing the excitement of space exploration with everyone from 8 to 88. But I think we're even going back before 8 years old, even younger than that. Our very own trailblazer, Marley Leacock. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so I've already asked the whole snack question. I know you're always wondering if I asked my guests a snack question, And Marley, what's the favorite snack that you do not share with anybody?
The Brookside chocolates, the pomegranate raspberry ones.
Yeah. Gobble.
Those are just for me.
Just for you.
Yeah.
Don't share.
No.
No, nobody's allowed.
No.
Just stuff them in your bag.
Yeah.
And move. And that's how you move. Okay, and that's how you move. That's how you move around in life and be amazing. Okay, so we're gonna kick it off with a question about how you got here. You had twists, turns, triumphs, and I'd love to know kind of how did we get here today?
Yeah,
Marley?
good. Who knows? It was very complicated because when I was in school, I hated math and I hated physics. I didn't like it at all.
Very relatable.
Yeah, most people don't, and it's a big problem. But I really, I didn't like it at all. But I did really like space. Like I did a 5th grade presentation on Saturn, and I was like, "This is the best planet ever," you know. So it was always kind of in the back of my mind, but you know, it still felt very far away because I hated the math and because I hated the physics.
Okay.
Right? So that was always.
But you loved the planets. You loved the focus on that.
I love the planets. I love the asteroids that took out the dinosaurs. That was very fascinating. You know, most kids have like the dinosaur phase and then they have the space phase, and mine was dinosaurs, asteroid, space. Right? Like that was the line. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Where'd that rock come from? And that's how I got into it. But it was a very complicated, like I was going to be a lawyer, I was going to do all this. Right. And then I got into high school and I only took up to 11th grade physics. Like I didn't even take grade 12.
Got it. You were like, I still don't.
Yeah, I still don't. Not into it. But then there were a couple missions that were really exciting that like really pulled me in. And one of those was the European Space Agency's Rosetta Philae mission, where they landed on a comet, like Comet 67P. It has a name, but I cannot pronounce the name. So Comet 67P is what I will be calling it. Yeah, it's a very long, named after a guy whose name I can't pronounce.
Right.
They landed on a comet, and it was the first mission to do so.
That's bananas.
Yeah. And even because I was like, well, how do you even do that? Like, how do you get from Earth, like launch something, intersect with the comet, and then land on this, which has its own, we didn't know super much. We knew some about the comet, like what it was made of, but not like what the surface texture would be like. Like Philae was the lander, and it like bounced off the surface. It was a whole.
It's like trying to jump on a surfboard on a massive wave.
Like from a plane. Yeah. Like,
how is that?
How do you do that? But they did it. And
Yeah.
I remember watching it happen, and I know for a fact, like when it happened, because it was the same time that Kim Kardashian did that photo shoot with like the champagne bottle, and I was like, "Why are we talking about that? Does no one else know that we landed on a comet today?" Like that. Yeah, I was like, "Why are we like hello?" Yeah, I was like, "This is very okay. Good for her. Yeah. We landed on a space rock. Like hello. Yeah." So that was a mission that really I was like, "How do they do that? Like, what does that even mean? What does that do?"
Right.
And then it was the New Horizons mission by NASA, NASA's New Horizons mission, which flew past Pluto, happened, I think, a year later in 2015. And they launched in 2006. So like this super long mission to get from Earth, again, to flying past Pluto. And I watched like the press conference when they announced that they had been successful. They got like the first image back, or they got the data back. And then one of the scientists on the team mentioned how the woman in charge of like the flight dynamics planning, so she charted Dr. Yanping Guo, who I was like, this is now my hero forever and ever. She did all of the flight planning, the flight charting, like the path that this spacecraft would have to take. And she was only off by like 7 minutes or something in her calculations. And I was like, I need to know how to do that. Like, that's what I want to know how to do.
That was a moment.
That was a moment, yeah. And I think I just graduated or was about to graduate high school at the time. I had already decided I was going to take a year off. I wasn't going to go to university right away because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Right. And I was about to just like move to a place I didn't know just to like figure that out.
Right.
Like it's expensive. I'll live with my parents and pay grocery money and stuff, not rent. So that was great. And that was when I was like, okay, I gotta figure it out. So then I went back and got my grade 12 physics at like a community college, like I think it was called the Chinook Learning Center. Shout out Chinook Learning Center in Calgary. Yeah. Got my grade 12 physics, and then applied to University of British Columbia, and I got accepted. And then I started my astronomy programming and astronomy learning there.
Okay, so we're in Calgary. That's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up in Calgary.
Why UBC? Why Vancouver?
So it was either UBC or the University of Calgary, like where I'm from. So I applied to both. But I love my family.
This is on record.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
do love them so much. It's easier to love them with a physical mountain barrier in the way sometimes.
I will neither confirm
Yes.
or deny that, but yes,
Yes.
sometimes it is.
Yes, and also UBC had a better program. So there was also that.
So
yeah.
sure. We'll say that.
Yeah, that too.
We'll tell them that.
But I was also like, I want to leave Calgary a little bit. I'm tired of -40 and I need to, you know, be me away from them and like figure out my life. So I did.
Okay.
It was good.
And then you landed there.
I landed there. I did it was a 4-year program. I did in 4 years. It was a whirlwind. It was very, very quick. A lot of math, a lot of physics. But
Which you still hate?
No, I don't. I respect it now, I think. It's not, I'm not like in love with it as a subject, but I respect it more and understand math as a tool and physics as a tool to like understand the universe around me, right? So that's what, you know, I hated physics when it was like a cannonball is being shot out of a cannon. You know, I was like, who cares? But then it was like a planet is orbiting around a star. And I was like, oh, great, I want to figure that out. And so physics and math was a tool I could use to figure out answers to questions I had. So I respect it a lot more now as a subject.
I like the way of looking at that in that way. I mean, that's the same with technology, AI and all that, right? You can hate it, but that's not going to allow you to use it as a tool, right?
No, not at all. And I spent many, many evenings in the math learning center at UBC, just like, what does this even mean? Like, what am I doing? You know, and it's not like I did great. Like I failed one of my math courses. I had to retake it. Like, it wasn't like
you heard it
understood
here.
it. Like
astronomers, we can fail here. It's
okay.
We just keep moving on. With our Brookside chocolates.
Like, okay, I failed. I'm probably gonna do it again. You know, like I'm gonna fail at something else. I'm gonna get something else wrong. You know, it sucked a lot at the time because no one wants to fail.
No.
But I did, and then I took it again, and I passed it, and I moved on to the next course. And you just kind of keep going. I've always liked working with kids. Like I've always, like, people are like, you like kids? And I'm like, yes, I genuinely enjoy children. Like I like them.
Fun.
They're fun. Yeah. And I think people kind of forget that they're people, but like I respect children as human beings and as people. And so I worked, that was really fun. And then I also volunteered with Gearing Up at UBC as well, their engineering outreach. And I was a volunteer for them, and then later like a camp counselor, essentially. So I got to lead my own summer camps and lead activities with the kids, and that was always great. I always kind of stayed with that grade 4-6 range, was always like the sweet spot. Though I did volunteer with like kids just going into grade 1, and that was very fun.
Little.
Yeah, because they're just little, and
so little.
It was when we had the summer, so much wildfire smoke, so we couldn't go outside. And like one little girl was like, "Can we please just read about penguins?" And I was like, "We can do whatever you want." Like,
I'm sorry for that.
I will never say no. We will read about penguins. So that was always good. But always working with kids. I've always really enjoyed talking with them and, you know, engaging with them and answering their questions, because I was the kid who had a million questions about stuff and like no one to ask. And so I love the excitement of when they are like, "Oh my, you know something, please tell me everything." And I'm like, "Okay, I will, like, no problem." So I've always really, really liked that.
And you segued this kind of passion into your work somewhere here, very important in Vancouver. So do you want to kind of
so after I graduated in May of 2020, so right when the lockdown was going on. So
did you have a ceremony?
It was online. It was like through Zoom, I guess. Like, I don't know. I was drunk at 10 a.m. in my living room, you know? I was not really engaging with it. I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing, fun. They did do a makeup ceremony like 2 years later. So I got to do that, which was nice for like, mainly for like my mom and my grandparents were really excited. I was like, okay, cool, I gotta go to work. So I left. I had to move back to Calgary for a time because, you know, I was online with Gearing Up, but, you know, rent, couldn't afford it. So moved back home with my mom. And then it was actually Anna Hughes who sent me the job posting for the astronomer at the H.R. McMillan Space Center.
Shout out to mentors that do this. They're like sponsors, they're champions, they're incredible.
Oh, she's fantastic. She was like, "You should apply for this." And I was like, all right, you know, whatever. And I think it was like the day before the applications closed or something. And I was like, just kind of been applying everywhere and like, no, you know, never hearing back. And so I applied for them. got an interview like quite quickly, was very, very excited, and the interview went very well. And I was hired as the astronomer at the H.R. McMillan Space Center in April of 2021, I believe it was. Yes. And so I started online, because I was still in Calgary. So I had a month online, then I moved back to Vancouver, back here, and then started in person shortly after I moved back, and was there for three and some odd years. Yeah.
That place is so cool.
It was
There's an
so
energy
cool.
to it.
Yep.
And it has, I was talking to my kid, I was like, this is the coolest name for a place.
McMillan?
Like not that. I mean, no offense, McMillan, but a space center? Like a space center is the coolest thing you can have on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're just like, could you call it something different? No, Space Center is pretty cool.
Space Center is really cool. Yeah. Most people know it like as the planetarium, because that's like the big part of the building. Yeah. We share it. Well, I know I'm no longer there, but it's very fresh. It's still we. They share it with the Museum of Vancouver. So try to distinguish. They're like, oh, you're just that top bit. I'm like, no, we have a little gallery space too. Like, we have other stuff. We have another theater. So that was great. It was so fun working there. And I got to help develop like activities and stuff a lot, which was great. Cool. I got to present with like school groups that would come in on field trips. So it was either I was reading about new science so I could put it into a show, or I was taking that new science and telling some kid about it, or I was talking with my coworkers about it, who are some of the most passionate space science communicators like I've ever met in my life. Like, and it's not here in Vancouver, and it's not like all of them have a degree in astronomy or physics. Like some of them, are like, oh no, I've never taken a physics class. I just love this stuff. And the passion and the joy in that was really something I really loved there. It was such a good group of people.
That's great. Okay. And so now your work has evolved into now fully focusing on
teaching. Yes. So while I was at the H.R. McMillan, I got to inherited a program that was born during the lockdown when kids were all learning at home. When kids returned to school, there was still a group of children who were still learning from home for whatever reason. I never asked. I didn't really care. I was just like, oh, cool, you're here. One question I got was, why don't we launch things off of the International Space Station? And I was like, I'm sure there's a really good reason, but I'm struggling to put that together off the top. I can't think of
why not.
Well, there's people there. And so, I don't know.
I do it.
Yeah. Figured out, she was like, well, why can't we just slingshot, to get rid of fuel? Because we talk a lot about sustainability in space exploration.
Totally.
Right? So a lot of those conversations came up. And there was one student who was there every session, the entire 3 years I taught it. His name's Charlie. And in teaching Charlie, I was like, oh, I think this is what I want to be doing, for forever. Nice. He really changed, how I thought about what I was going to do. Because I was always like, well, I'll do this for a bit. Maybe I'll go get a master's. Sure. Maybe I'll go get a PhD. If you ask my grandfather, I still should be getting a PhD. He's like, it takes 2 years. And I'm like, dude, it takes 5. Yeah. He's like, well, then get started.
Get started. He wants to get on it.
I was like, why do you want me to get one so bad? So I can brag about it. Okay.
Of course. Yeah. Just for you.
Just for him. Yeah. So I was like, what should I do here? And it was teaching Charlie that I was like, oh, I want to do this all the time. I love the way kids think. I love the way they look at the world and the questions they ask, especially around grade 4-ish, they know how to ask a question, which is very important. But they also they still have that curiosity and they don't have the fear to ask quite yet, right? Yeah. So they are still constantly asking.
Okay, we're gonna say hi to Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie, for helping.
He's my favorite, yeah. Oh, he's such a great kid. Yes, and so I had to go back to school again because I didn't have all the prerequisites because I want to teach elementary school. Yeah. So I had to go back to school. So I was working full-time and doing school part-time online to get my courses, and then applied to the University of British Columbia again. Yes. Welcome back. And I got in, to the teaching program there for elementary school.
So on that note, we're going to talk about some fun facts. All right, so we're going to kick off our fun fact segment with your morning routine.
Wake up, snooze my alarm because I'm not ready.
How many times?
Okay, it depends on my cat. Yeah. So I will do once, And then I can sometimes get away with a second time, but sometimes she starts biting me. And so, because she knows alarm means breakfast.
Yes.
So it depends how she's feeling more than anything.
Right. I have the same with the dog. I'm like, did he hear it? Oh, he heard it, and he comes in barrels and excited.
Yeah, her too.
You're right.
Yeah.
So they
gallops in.
So you're like,
sit right here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm asleep. And then the nibbles begin. Yeah.
All right. And then we have, I would love best advice you've ever received. And I always preface with best advice you've ever received. You may not have taken it.
Right.
Because we get a lot from our families, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Get a PhD.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
And then worst advice that you probably didn't take.
Right.
Or maybe you took and you were like, this is the worst advice.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
This was bad. Yeah.
So if you can kind of give me those two, that'd be awesome.
The best advice I ever got was from my high school math teacher, Mr. Wood. He said, don't go to university if you don't know what you want to do. And I was like, cool. Right, because I was like, should I be applying? Should I be doing this? And he's like, do you know what you want to do? And I was like, no. And he's like, then why would you go?
And why would you go? You don't even know.
He's like, so he was like, take a year off. And I was like, okay. And then I did.
And you did. You were
and it was great. Yeah, I learned that I didn't want to be a produce clerk for a long time. So, and then I got to, go back and get everything I needed to do what I wanted to do.
Right.
So that was good.
Go Mr. Woods.
Thomas Wood. Yeah, still my friend. And then worst advice I got was from one of my first year professors at UBC, actually, who we had to take a physics intuition test, which I to this day think is a bit silly, but whatever. And I didn't score very well on it because I don't find physics intuitive. And he told me, I had to go to his office, and he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I would like to do astronomy. And he said, I would maybe reconsider that and not do that at all because you scored poorly on this one test. And I went, okay, well, no, but okay. Like, what was it? I phoned my mom, like, sobbing, like, everything's for, and she was like, that guy sucks, move on. And I was like,
he needs to talk to Mr. Woods.
Yeah.
And get straight.
Yeah, so didn't take that advice, obviously.
Good.
Got a degree in astronomy, thank you very much.
Thanks.
So,
okay,
whatever.
So we're not listening to that advice.
No.
What surprised you about a particular project that you worked on?
So when I was still at UBC, I applied for the summer undergraduate research program out of the University of Toronto and the Dunlap Institute of Astronomy and Astrophysics. I think they might have changed their name since, but
there must be an acronym there. I feel like SERP is as close as we're gonna
good,
get, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But I don't know how to make an acronym to Dunlap Institute of Astronomy and Astrophysics.
Oh, they probably have one. I know.
Yes, I don't know. But at the U of T, and I got in and I did that. And so for a summer, I worked with Dr. Allison Mann and some other girls, Baria and Millie. I still talk to them from time to time. And we researched galaxies, specifically active galactic nuclei, the specific kind of galaxies that the black hole is like actively accreting material at the center. And they're very interesting, confusing subjects to study because we don't quite understand what's going on with them. And I got to
ask about that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And I got to work with them. And what surprised me were two things. So I was there for the summer, I still did like my community astronomy stuff. Was still doing a lot of outreach. And what surprised me was I didn't particularly like research. I really thought I was going to, but I was like, I actually don't think I want to do this. And how many women were there was very surprised. Like my whole team was women. It was Allison, myself, Baria, Millie, and another woman, Dr. Rachel, whose last name I'm forgetting. But we were all
That's awesome.
Like, and I was like, whoa, I've never seen this before or worked in this kind of environment before. So that was really surprising. And what was, because I had to do a student of the week post, I got nominated as like student of the week, like highlight, and I said, like, one thing I love about this is that I'm working with all women. Like, that's really cool.
Yep.
And like, they put me like on their Twitter and there was backlash from it. Like, of course, like, just whatever, some trolls, but they were like, if a man said this, he'd be great.
Dear.
And I was like, okay, so this will still upset people, was also a bit surprising.
Right.
Like me being happy that like, whoa, in such a field where women are, very underrepresented, to have a team of all women and nearly all women of color as well was like phenomenal for me. But people would still be like, wah, 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 about it. I was like, okay, well, that's an annoying surprise. But the best surprise was like, whoa, like I'm working with all women, like genius, smart, talented level women. And it was really awesome. It was a good experience overall.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. Okay, so you've given us a lot. We were going to talk about kind of women in STEM, women and gender diverse folks in STEM. You talked about Dr. Yang Peng Guo.
Guo, yeah.
And then kind of Katherine Johnson, if we can.
Yeah.
Like there are some incredible contributors, innovators that have come before you that really laid the groundwork for the work that you do. So how are you feeling about that? You did mention how you were impacted by Dr. Guo. And
Yeah.
so how about Katherine Johnson? How about that legacy? That's a very interesting legacy because it is down a different country, right?
Yeah.
For us in Canada, but it did still make a universal impact on a lot of us, right?
Hugely so. Katherine Johnson, rest in peace. Like, what a lady. I remember when I first learned about her being very upset because I was like, nothing could have happened without her. You know, like her contribution was so important and it felt like so overshadowed. Yeah. And also just someone who could do so much. Like, you know, people are like, oh, well, she did all this math. I'm like, you don't understand how difficult that math is. Like, she's like, it was incredibly smart woman. And the fact that she did all of it within the circumstances she was in, right? Being in the United States during that time where, you know, she wasn't seen as a full person or worthy of being there. But how else would we have gotten to where we are? You know, her work helping get like the first American man into space and back down safely, right? Is like nothing would have come after that without her contribution. So that really like spoke to me. And in my time, like in my degree, learning about, you know, different, like the Harvard computers, for example, like the women who categorized all the stars and, you know, made all the tables, like their work is why we're able to do the science that we are, because someone went in and got the details and did like all of the actual labor to do it. Like, sure, some guy was like, hey, do this. But like the women who did it and recognized the patterns and recognized everything is why we're able to do the science and astronomy we are today. Yeah. And to me, that really spoke to how much women do, and gender diverse folks too. But for me, like women that stand out the most because I identify as a woman. So I see them more. How much work they do behind the scenes, right? Like they're not the face, they're not the image, but they're the ones that are all doing the work behind the scenes. Like Dr. Yang Peng Guo, like she wasn't at the conference when they did the press conference. I'm sure she was doing other very important work, but she was the one who, you know, and I'm sure she had a team help her, right? Science is very collaborative, but she was in charge of getting the spacecraft from point A to point B. Yep. And if the spacecraft did not get to point B, all of those mission details they wanted to do could not have happened because it wouldn't have been there, right? So all that work was just like, okay, there's so much going on behind the scenes that you don't see, and that really stood out to me, and like I don't know, like really woke me up of like, okay, like how many more women are out there? Well, that's it. That like are doing all this stuff behind the scenes that you don't know. So that's our mission here, right? That's why we're here. So I want to talk about Vancouver as a place to work and play. Oh yeah. Because you did make a choice to be here. So clearly you kind of like it. Yeah, I do, yeah. So what is it about Vancouver? I mean, I know it's the University of British Columbia, but really what is it about Vancouver as a city, as a place to innovate that makes you kind of hang out here more than anywhere else in the world? Well, it's partly like for fun and for, I love that you get so many concerts. Vancouver gets so many great concerts that Calgary does not get, you know, so that's a bummer. But I also just like the city itself. Like, I don't know quite how to explain it. I like I tell my family like back home, like as soon as it hits November until February, I'm like, why do I live in this city? Why do I live here? It rains all the time. It's gray. There's no sun. This is awful. And then the moment the cherry blossoms open up. Oh my God. We're all new people. We're like, oh my God, I love this city so much. Yeah. And the moment that opens up, I'm like, okay, this is why I live here. Like, you know, the days when it's like bright and sunny and like the magnolia trees are blooming and it's like perfect spring. I'm like, okay, this is why I live here. And I also like built a community here. Like a lot of my like friendships I've made like for life are they're still in the city. And so like I have my family back home, but I have my family like right here, like in my home. Right? Yeah. All the people I surround myself with. That's solid. And like the teaching journey, like I was considering going back to Alberta to do my teacher's education, but I didn't like their curriculum. And so I chose to not go back there. And so it's also partly that, like, I feel like the city like supports who I am for now. That may change, but for now, like we just mesh currently.
Got it.
Probably not forever, but for now we do.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't remember physics. I guess it was in physics class. You learn about space and galaxies and black holes and all that. And I think I was focused on drama class or something.
Okay.
So I forgot, and I would love a refresher on what's a galaxy.
Okay, a galaxy this is very fun, a collection of stars, dust, and gas, and dark matter is kind of how they're described. It gets a bit complicated because there's no like hard limits on, there's like different astronomical things out in space, like does this count as a galaxy? It's like, no, it's a dwarf galaxy, right? So, but at its core, it's a collection of gas, dust, stars, and dark matter.
I love that you included dark matter in there because that was discovered by a woman as well. Which is huge. And shout out again, Vera Rubin. Why did I say Vera Wang? That's a designer.
Also a very famous Vera. Yeah.
Vera Rubin, exactly. And then we're going to talk about space exploration.
Yes.
Can you give me kind of what is it? Why do we do it?
Why not? Like that's kind of why not figure things out? A lot of space exploration, I think, to me anyway, how I see it, it comes at an attempt at trying to understand like humans ourselves. Like, why are we here? Right? I find human beings are always trying to answer that question, whether that be, through philosophy, through religion, and then through space exploration. Like, why are we here? How did we get here? Like, why are we the ones here? And so in space exploration, like going out and studying these different planets, these different systems, building telescopes to see so far, is just trying to find any information that explains why us? Why are we here? What went right for our planet to exist?
Oh, I like that one. What went right?
Yeah.
Like, how did everything come together to make this possible? Great?
Yeah,
right?
like how did, this one star in this one cloud, in one galaxy, how this cloud somehow collapsed to form this one planet at this exact spot with this exact ingredients of stuff for you and I to be doing the video podcast, right? Like why? What happened, right? So I think that's what space exploration really is, like trying to answer that question. I think human beings are very curious, but we're also lonely. And trying to figure out like why are we the ones here is like a big part of why we do what we do.
Oh, I love that answer. And then you just referred to it, why being curious about outer space can teach us about ourselves. But I think if you want to add anything, you just answered that so perfectly. So if there's anything else you want to add, what it can teach us about who we are, why we're here, what we do.
What we do, I think, studying the way I study outer space and the way a lot of my colleagues study outer space is, I think, one of the purest forms of curiosity, of like just wanting to know for the sake of knowing, right? Because it's sad because there's a lot of, as space exploration becomes more popular and like a lot of privatization comes in, it starts to become all about what can this do for me? What can I earn from this? What profit can I make? But some scientists, a lot of scientists are just like, I just want to know the answer to something. And that's what it's like to be a kid in grade 4. Like, I just want to know. Like, just tell me what's going on. I just want to learn. I just want to know what's happening. And so space exploration, I think, can really show you like the motives of people, why people do what they do, and also kind of like show a mirror on us as like a society and like really make us question, like, why are we doing this? Right? Like, why do we want to go to this asteroid? Why do we want to do this? And for some people, that'll be one reason. But I think for most people, it's, I just want to learn. And I like that part.
Thank you for joining us for our first ever episode of No Credit. And we got to learn about far-flung galaxies and ways that space exploration can teach us a little bit about ourselves. We were reminded of our 4-year-old selves or our 8-year-old selves and how curious we were and how curious we can continue to be if we just look up a little bit more. And then we also learned about the legacy of some incredible women and gender diverse folks in the STEM field, specifically Katherine Johnson, and our very own Vancouverite.
Kind of.
Kind of. Marley Leacock. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. You, honestly, my brain is like, I feel more open to things thanks to this episode. And this was I gave you a lot of pressure at the beginning. I remember we were on our pre-interview call. I was like, this is episode 1. It's got to be awesome. No pressure. And you were like, oh, gosh.
Okay, yeah.
This is not your first rodeo. Like you've been doing podcasting and you've done kind of outreach a lot.
Yeah.
So
most of my adult life has been doing outreach. Yeah.
So this one's one to check out. I think there's going to be a lot more from you. I'm looking forward to it. But thank you for
having me. And Frank, thank you for doing the show. It's really important work, and congratulations for doing it. I don't know. Yay! Yeah.
Yay for us.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Okay. Yes. Oh, yes. We do a final thing. We check in with our audience and we say, were the contributions of incredible people like Katherine Johnson impactful or all in vain? And we'll ask you, but I think you already answered that question because it's shaped so much of who you are and what you get to do. But I would love to know. We have an Instagram account. Comment below, but otherwise, let us know. You be the judge. You tell us if it was impactful and all in vain. But I'm pretty sure we're on the good side here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. She did a lot of good work. Yeah. It was quietly, but she did it.
Yeah. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for tuning in to No Credit. We hope you've enjoyed hearing about the incredible stories of trailblazers in the STEM and creative fields. Together, we've challenged stereotypes and ensured their groundbreaking contributions are never left out of history books. Until next time.
This is good for her. Yeah. We landed on a space rock. Like, hello.
So when it points at you, you see it, but then it rotates away, and you see nothing.
Hers were the first ones specifically designed to power this machine and take it kind of beyond basic calculator status into a computer.
And so I just think of like all of the indirect impact it's having, and I just can't think of anything cooler.
It's okay to fail. It's okay to suck. I play piano and I'm just like, I'm not good. I'm gonna sit. And like, that's fine.
Learning to do things that for you are helpful and positive.
Yes.
Learning how to breathe, the thing that we do all the time. Right.
Yeah, we're from roughly the same cultures, the same area of the world, so we might dance a little bit while we're on screen, so just bear with us. Do you want to give us like the one-line premise? Because I feel like it's over-practiced now.
No, well, no, it's just like I have come up with the solution to all the world's problems, right? Climate, of course.
We've eradicated global poverty, have true trans-species democracy, and we just had to turn back technology a little bit, and everybody has to leave by 50.